change the song we're gonna do. I originally decided not to do this one because my husband. Okay, I wrote a song called "Make Love," and I would normally only do it in the club where the lights are down really low, so no one has to look at each other because people, whatever. But we're all adults; we can do it, can't we? My daughter's here, but she already knows the song anyway, so. It's the way your fingers slowly brush my thigh, and the way your lips linger, just a sigh above mine. And your eyes, they tell me what you want tonight. We don't need to say it, baby. I know what's on your mind, baby. Everyone's looking for a new love, but you got me begging for your touch. After all this time, maybe it ain't the love we fell in, but the love we're making. And hearing you whisper, my skin, it starts to burn. And ooh, your laugh still lights me up like the rising of the sun. And darling, don't you worry, I'm not going anywhere. My life, my love, my flesh and blood ain't for no one else, baby. Everyone's looking for new love, but you got me begging for your touch. After all this time, maybe it ain't the love we fell in, but the love we're making. Let's do that chorus again. Here we go. And baby, everyone's looking for new love, but you got me begging for your touch. After all this time, and maybe it ain't the love we fell in, but the love we're making. Is everybody sufficiently feeling awkward? All right, we'll get off this song. We'll do the next one. So, my name is Dana Masters. I am a musician. I am married to the wonderful Andrew Masters, who I tell you that because he is originally from Northern Ireland, lives from County Down, born and bred, Ulster Protestant boy in an Ulster Protestant family. Moved out to Los Angeles to do a master's degree and happened to meet me and brought me home to mommy and daddy. And they have loved me very well ever since. And I've been here on this island for, it'll be 11 years this November. We have 3 children. I should say I was raised in the Deep South. I was raised in a very active social justice family. My grandmother is very well known for her civil rights contribution in our state. In fact, they just named a highway after her the other day. And I wish I could have been there, but I FaceTimed everybody and we cried sufficiently. She's no longer with us, so it was really lovely to do that. And so here I am moving to Northern Ireland. I have 3 children who are all born in Northern Ireland and who sound very much like it. And just recently we moved out of our house in Lisburn, which is in a city in Northern Ireland outside of Belfast. And this Ulster Protestant born and raised Ulster Protestant boy who is now a vineyard pastor up in Northern Ireland, and this Black American sort of soul jazz singer have moved out into the middle of nowhere. We're building a house on the side of a mountain in a place called Finnis, and our kids now go to Catholic school. and we are members of our GA club, and no one knows what to do with us. So we are creating holy confusion. So I'm gonna do a song called "Let It Go." I wrote this song. Okay, when was that infamous election? Was that 2 years ago? 2 years ago already. So I wrote this song right whilst processing some of my own emotion after the election, the infamous election in the States that divided the country so deeply. And every time when I would sing this song, everyone would go, "Are you and Andrew okay? Is your marriage okay?" Because it sounds like a romantic breakup song. And really, what the song was is I was heartbroken, and I was going through a breakup. I was raised in an evangelical, charismatic setting in an Assemblies of God church. I went to a church that was 50% white and 50% everything else. I mean, I never knew Black Russians existed until we had some Black Russians at our church. And it was incredible, and I love that church, and I love those people, and I love that movement, and they taught me to love Jesus. They taught me deep spirituality. They taught me about the supernatural and experiencing Jesus in my everyday life, and then I left home, and that election period happened, and I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I wept every night. And it wasn't, I don't care who people voted for. Listen, freedom to choose that's your right. I have to give that to you. I have to defend that. I think my heart was breaking because for the first time I felt so unheard. I didn't know that I was not understood as a little Black girl, and that the church that I had been taught to love so deeply, and I did love so deeply, was not capable of loving me back in the same way. And so I wrote this song. Sorry for the melodramatic nature of it, but I am a musician, so it has to be there. I never said the words out loud. I didn't know how to talk about it. And you were with me so long, I don't know what I'd do without you. But we've been in this fight for as long as I remember. But I'm leaving it tonight. I don't have it in me to continue. I see you made up your mind. I see you've come to your decision. And it's a broken fairy tale. Ain't no heroes and ain't no villains. So I'll be moving on. I'm done pretending that this is enough. I'd rather be alone. Better lonely than unloved. 'Cause I just can't wait any longer. It's breaking my heart that you cannot be what I need. Too many years and way too much misery. I gotta let it go. And it always screams so loud, 'cause baby, we're so damn scared. So desperate to hide that it's empty in here. But if we just sit tight, just stop moving, stop trying so hard, it'll all be alright. You and I know this was never love, 'cause I just can't wait any longer. It's breaking my heart that you cannot be what I need. Too many years and way too much misery. I gotta let it go. And it's alright, it's okay. Sometimes, baby, you gotta let it go. Broke your heart, broke your faith. Sometimes, baby, you gotta let it go, let it go. I tried so long, stayed so strong. Sometimes, baby, you gotta let it go. I cried my tears, I'm moving on. It's time, baby, I gotta let you go. And I just won't wait any longer. It's breaking my heart that you cannot be what I need. Too many years and way too much misery. I gotta let you go, let you go, let you go. And I just can't wait any longer. Hoping that one day you'd stand up and you'd fight for me. Too many years taken away from me. Gotta let it go. Thank you. Thank you. I always like to caveat and say I'm not angry at anybody, by the way. I have really let it go. I mentioned that my grandmother was heavily involved in the civil rights movement in my state. And growing up, sitting around the table hearing what I now know as absolutely extraordinary stories, they were just normal to us. And my grandmother had 5 children. My grandma was born to a woman named Razzie, Grandma Razzie. And Grandma Razzie fell in love with my grandmother's father, who was not her husband. It was a white man in our town. He kind of ran things. His name was Mr. Diamond. And together they had 3 children. 3 children that were not allowed to acknowledge their father, even though they lived in a smaller town in the street. And my grandmother was the only girl. She had ginger hair, red hair, for any of you that don't know what ginger hair is. I don't know why I said that. I'm in Ireland. I'm sorry. I just hear so many American accents back at me, and when I hear that, I try to explain things. And she grew up sort of on the outside, on the outskirts. And my grandmother wanted her to move up north and live her life as a white woman because she was that pale. She could have, and it would have been easier for her. But my grandmother wasn't interested in that. Instead, she stayed down south and she fought for families. She fought for social justice. She fought for the rights of her children. My mother and her brothers and sisters were the first children to integrate the school system in their county. And a couple of years ago, I started to think about that because I had my own children, and I could not believe them. I think my mother was 8 years old when she did that, and some of the stories are horrific. And out of my grandmother's 5 children, 2 of them are functioning. They're happy and they're healthy, but the other 3, not surprisingly, have fallen through the cracks. And I started to think a little bit about what would drive a mother to put their children in such a physically and psychologically dangerous situation. And I thought about whether she would do it differently if she looked back on it. And I know my grandmother, I don't think she would have, because she believed that much in the cause. And I thought, though, if she was alive today and she could write her children a letter, specifically her girls, what would that letter sound like? Like, what as a mother do you say when you say, yeah, we had to make some sacrifices, and you had to make them when you were 8. But because of that, your grandchildren are okay, and they have opportunities they would not have had. It made me think about how we live one generationally, don't we? We care about how happy we are, and the generations before us lived for generations to come that they would never meet. So I wrote this song because at the time I was struggling with, I have a little girl who's 7. She's here today. And, I know I'm not a perfect mom. I already have some things I need to apologize for. So I kind of wrote this song like if my grandmother penned something, but also if I penned something. So this is called Little Girl. This letter I write to you, it won't be enough for you. Forgive me. Oh, little girl, I thought I should explain. I never meant you to have this pain. Please forgive me. And oh, love grows tattered, stretched and worn when it's spread too to the moon and the storm. In your little world where I hung the stars and moon that you could never live up to. Oh, you believed me. But it's a crazy world. Ain't no sinners and ain't no saints. Just the fallout from choices made. Baby girl, believe me. And oh, to the sun and the storm. Tethered 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 to the sun and the storm. Won't you forgive me, darling? Little girl, oh, oh, little girl,
So we were meant to move into a time of kind of questions and answers, little interview, but she's managed to answer every single question just in her presence and her storytelling and your life and your truth and the songs you're singing. So rather than hear me ask questions, let's hear you sing one more song.
Thank you. Can I tell you about this song? I never get to talk in my shows because it's not the done thing. You just have to coolly move from one song to the next. So do you mind if I tell you about this song? So a few years ago, my family and I drove to Connemara for a couple of weeks of holiday. And I have to say, when I left South Carolina when I was 17 to go to university in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. And then from there, I moved to Los Angeles. So I hadn't been home for a long time. And I remember people used to ask me in Los Angeles, "Oh, Dana, you grew up in the Deep South. What was that like?" I think they felt like there must have been KKK parades or something every day when I was growing up. I have never seen anybody in the flesh in a KKK outfit. Outfit, is that what they're called? I don't know. Seems a bit too casual, but okay. And so they said, "Dana, did you ever experience racism?" And I was like, "No, man, no, I really didn't. No one ever called me the N-word, and there was never like crosses being burnt in my front garden or anything." And then I moved here, and I felt uncomfortable for the first wee while, and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't like a bad discomfort. It was just like something was missing, and I didn't know what it was. And I kept expecting it to like jump out in front of me and scare me from around any corner. And it took me forever to realize that no one was aware of me in the way that I was used to them being aware of me. Like when I walked into a room, it was not bad people, just these ideas and decisions that were made about who you were before you ever did anything. But I didn't know that was in the room until it wasn't in the room. And I just took this massive exhale. And I mean, this is not a perfect place. I know that. And I know there's issues here and everything. But oh my word, to live as a young black girl and a black woman with that sort of around you all the time. And it was in LA, it was in Minneapolis, it was in South, it was everywhere. And to come here and that was taken away. And all of a sudden I started asking myself questions about who I actually was outside of those assumptions of myself. And I started to heal. Things in me that I did not know were bruised and broken, I started to heal. And I have to say that the people here on this island have been a part of that healing process for me. My husband was talking to, this sounds really, it sounds like I'm name dropping. I'm not name dropping because I don't even know his name, but it was the Archbishop of some Uganda or something when he was in a trip in Uganda. And he said they were chatting about their prospective lands. And my husband was telling him about Northern Ireland and the troubles and the history there. And he said to him, I've been to Ireland. And he said, "Oh, great." He said, "It's beautiful." And he said to him, "You know what I've noticed as I've traveled around? Some of the most war-torn places where the most destruction has been created are some of the most beautiful places on the earth." And he says, "I genuinely believe that there is this evil intent to destroy what these lands were created for, which is healing." And I can honestly say, we've moved out into the mountains. I stand on that mountain, the wind in my face. And I just want to say to all of you who live here, your destiny is one of healing. You have been created, this land has been created to help to heal the rest of the world. And I think the enemy loves to distract us, loves to do things to move us away from what we've been created for. So I wrote this song. I love to always, in my shows, I love to always dedicate a song to this island because it's meant so much to me. And by the way, I'm not one of those Americans who's obsessed with Ireland. And every time you go, they're like, I'm Irish. And I was like, I'm black. I know I'm not Irish. Like, I did not know. I just happened to follow the love of my life here. But I have fallen in love with you after knowing you for 11 years. And I wrote this song. It's kind of country. It's not really my normal style. But I wrote this love song to this island and this land that has been so healing to me. So I dedicate this all to you and say thank you so much for having me today. Thank you so much for having me for these last 11 years. Okay? This is called Call You Home. I lost my way in a desert land, searching for somewhere I could stand. High and dry, I crossed the seas, wasn't looking for a home, but home found me. The wide open arms of your hills pulled me in. I fell for your charms and your wild northern winds. And then you lay me down and whisper soft and sweet, I'll be your home if you let me. Nothing to give, I had nothing to bring, but still you held my hand and eased my suffering. And when I close my eyes, I can hear you breathe, and with every breath you bring life to me. The wide open arms of your hills pull me in. I fell for your charms in your wild northern winds. And then you lay me down and whisper soft and sweet, I'll be your home if you let me. And high as your heavens and as deep as your seas, the winds of your kindness are blowing right through me. And then you hold me close, I whisper quietly, I'll call you home if you let me. I'll call you home if you let me. I'll call